Hello and welcome to another recorded lecture. Today's topic is combination of letters involving repetition. This is a topic that's come up very often in the recent past papers, and it's important to understand that some of these questions are complicated. So start karte hain. We'll start with some simple questions, from AdMath syllabus because these are simple to understand, and then we'll move on to more complicated questions as we go on. Okay. Four of the letters of the word Mexico are selected at random. Find the number of different combinations if there is no restriction on the letter selected. So how many letters are available? There are six letters available. So I'm going to say that there are six letters available and I need to choose four. Now these questions are about choosing. So it's just simply 6C4. I put that on my calculator and I get 10, 15, sorry. Okay, these are the correct answers that I've written here just to make sure that I'm doing them correctly. Now the letter M must be selected. Now remember that whenever you are in a situation जहाँ पे आपको जो है वो एक कोई letter fixed select ही करना है तो आप simply क्या करेंगे कि आप letter को as it is लिख देंगे यहाँ पे. Okay. Now how many more letters are you willing to select? There are three more letters. How many letters remain that are available to you? There are five letters, so 5C. 3. 5C3 should give you 10. Now notice I've done nothing for M. मैंने M के लिए कुछ भी नहीं किया. M directly select हो गया and that's how these combination questions are supposed to be done. You don't select identical letters. You don't select letters that are getting fixed. You just go on and select the remaining ones. उनके combination बना लेते हैं. Okay. Four of the letters of the word Venezuela. So let's first write Venezuela. Or selected at random from the word to find the number of possible selections which contain exactly one E. So I'm just looking at one E. Now the remaining E's cannot be selected. Which of the E's got selected? I cannot say 3C1. Why? Because let's say I give you three letters and I ask you to choose your math grade and those three letters are B, B, B. You cannot tell me that there are three choices. You can just tell me that there's one choice and that's just B. You cannot say that I take the first B, that's a different choice. You cannot say that I could take the second B and that's a different choice. It's just that they're all identical letters. So identical letters don't have choices. You just select them directly. In case there are multiple conditions, तो आप जो है वो उनके cases बनाएंगे and then you will go ahead and select. Okay, in this case I cancel out the E's. How many letters am I left with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I needed to select 4. So I'm going to say that एक select हो गया, 6C3 is the remaining. Okay, so 6C3 gives me 20. Four letters from the letters of the word remembrance are chosen. Find the number of different selections which contains no M's, no R's, and at least two E's. So let's first write that. Remembrance. Find the number of different selections which contains no M's, no R's. So I need to cancel out the M's, the R's, and at least two E's. Now when I say at least two E's, there could be either two E's or there could be either three E's. So what I will do is I will make cases. Why? Because I cannot select identical letters. I cannot say 3C2 and 3C3. Why? Because 3C2 means 3C2 gives me the answer 3. I cannot say that there are three choices for selecting E's. They are the same letter, so there is therefore no choice. If there are two letters already selected, I need to have two more. How many letters am I left with? I'm left with B, A, N, and C. So I'm going to say 4C2 and 4C1 in this case. 4C2 gives me 6, 4C1 gives me 4. So total I have 10. Remember that all identical letters don't have choices. You need to fix them as cases and then solve. Okay. Now this one is even tougher. Okay, now moving on to question number 4, it says find the number of different selections of four letters of the word aggregate which contain exactly two G's or exactly three G's. Now this question is a little more complicated than the previous one, so please notice this carefully. Let me first just write this in my way so that I know exactly how many repetitions are there. Now, when I say exactly 2 Gs and exactly 3 Gs, these are the cases that come to mind. But remember that it's not just the G's that are identical. There are two more letters that are identical. So I can't just simply go on and say that 6 letters रह गए and 62 should be here. And the reason is that 6 basically contains 2 A's and 2 E's. Now you can't count identical letters in your combinations. You know that there are only 4 different letters A, R, E, and T. So what do I do about the identical letters? Now the question doesn't say anything, but मुझे पता है कि जब भी मुझे identical letters के साथ deal करना है, तो मुझे जो है उनके cases अलग से बनाने हैं. So G, G, A, G, G, E, E. Okay, those are the identical letters that are coming together. Then there could be G, G, and 2 different letters. Now, what are those 2 different letters? It could be a combination of A and R, or A and E, or A and T, and R and E, and R and T. So there are 4C2 combinations. 4C2 gives me 6. Now, for these, there are no letters being selected. So 4C0 is just one combination, no letters being selected. So 2 Gs वाले केस में total 8 combinations हो गए. 3 Gs वाले केस में फिर से 4C1 आ जाएगा. 4 क्यों? क्योंकि A और E को डबल काउंट हम नहीं कर सकते कॉम्बिनेशंस के अंदर. परम्यूटेशंस में कर सकते हैं, कॉम्बिनेशंस में नहीं कर सकते. So that gives me 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 6. Now this has become a very common question on the exam. So you should understand this. Sometimes it goes into probability as well, and that makes it more complicated as well. We're going to talk about that in a bit. Okay, let's see a similar question. It says 5 of the 11 letters of the word requirement. How many possible selections contain at least 2 E's? So 2 E's or 3 E's and at least 1 R. Okay, so there could be a combination of E, E and R, or E, E, R and R. Okay, 5 of the letters 11 of 11 letters are selected. So there could be E, E, E and R, or E, E, E and R and R. Okay, those could be the possible directly selected elements of my combinations. I know that R's and E's get cancelled out because I made there all the cases that I could possibly make there. 2 E's, 1 R, 3 E's, 1 R, 2 E's, 2 R's, 3 E's, 2 R's. I think that settles it. Okay, now how many different letters am I left with? Q, U, I, M, and T. So 6. How many more do I need to select? I'm going to say 6C2 here. Why? Because I needed to select a total of 5. 3 are already selected. 6C1 here, then 6C1 here, and 6C0 here. 6C2 is 15. 6C1 is 6. 6C1 is again 6. And 6C0 is 1. Let's see if we get the correct answer. Yes, that is equals to 28. The correct answer is 28. So always make your combinations in this way. Moving on to question number 6. It says 4 of the letters of the word of the 9 letters of the word crocodile. Crocodile. Find the number of selections in which the number of C's is not the same as the number of O's. Okay, so let's imagine the cases first. Number of C's could be 1 and number of O's could be 0. So I'm going to list down the cases. Okay, so let's imagine the cases where the number of C's is not the same as the number of O's. So I could have 1C. Let's start with 0 C's. Okay, no C's. So no C, 1 O. Okay, so I have O, no C, and 2O. So I have O and O. That's it. I think I cannot have any other combination. Let's say 1C and then no. So C, 1C and 2O's, because I can't say 1C and 1O because that makes the number of C's and number of O's equal. And then 2C and no O. and then two C and one O. CC and CCO. Okay, now how many C's and O's are away? So I'm left with five letters. I needed to select a total of four letters. So I'm going to say 5C3 here, 5C2, 5C3, 5C1, 5C2, and 5C1. 5C3 gives me 10, 5C2 gives me 10, 5C3 again gives me 10, this gives me 5, this gives me 10, and that gives me 5. So do I have a total of 50? Yes, that is indeed the correct answer. Okay, moving on now to the next question. It says find the number of different selections of the 11 letters of the word caterpillar that contain both R's and at least one A and at least one L. So caterpillar. Okay, that contain both R's. So R's have to be there and at least one A and at least one L. So at least one A. Find the total number of the six letters. I need to select six letters. So let's start with a very simple case, A and L, and then two different, or L, and one different, or A, L, and one different. No different, zero different. And I think I'm left with one case which I sort of should have done that before. Let's write that here. R, and L. So one different. So I'm going to cancel the A's, I'm going to cancel the R's, and I'm going to cancel the L's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to say 5C2, 5C1, 5C1, and 5C0. Okay, so this gives me 10, 5, 5, and 1. So total 21. That's a repeated question. You see, there's lots more. There's another word. There are lots of words that are there, um, and you can go through the questions. Four letters are selected at random from the eight letters of the word tomorrow. Okay, so let's write down tomorrow here first. Tomorrow. Okay, find the probability. Now this question has changed. When I ask you for the probability, there has to be a denominator. Now remember that the denominator is the unrestricted combinations. Now what I've told you is that so far what I've done is I've tried to eliminate the identical combinations and said that you need to avoid double counting. What I'm going to tell you here is that with probability that becomes a very difficult scenario to cater. Why? Because there's so many possibilities that need to come into the denominator. Yes, the numerator can be handled, but the denominator cannot be handled. So what you end up doing in the denominator is you just say that there are eight letters, so eight C4 combinations. Now, there's a lot of double counting in those combinations. The idea is that if you're double counting in the denominator, what you simply end up doing is that you double count in the numerator as well. आप न्यूमरेटर में भी जो है वो ज़्यादा काउंटिंग कर लें, आप आइडेंटिकल लेटर्स को वहाँ पे भी सिलेक्ट कर लें. तो आपने कहा सर डिनोमिनेटर 8C4 हो गया. अब पहले हम अपने केसेस बना लेते हैं एटलीस्ट वन ओ एंड एटलीस्ट वन आर. सो वन ओ, वन आर, वन ओ, टू आर्स, टू ओज, वन आर, टू ओज, टू आर्स, थ्री ओज, वन आर, and three O's and 2 R's. Oh, there are just four. Okay, so this one doesn't exist. Three O's and an R. Yep. Okay. So what I then try to do is, I hope I've done all the cases here, but we'll know when we get the final answer. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that in the previous question, I was saying that these get selected directly and there's no 3C1 that you need to do. But since you've double counted in the denominator now, what you need to do is you need to say that I'm selecting one O out of 3, 2 hours, 1 hour out of 2. And then I have how many different letters? 2 different letters to choose from. So TMW, so 3C2. Okay. Then 3C1, 2C2, and 3C1 here. Why? Because there are 2 different letters here as well that I haven't written. Let's just write that down in case that becomes confusing for you to understand. So 2 different, 1 different, 1 different. Okay, at least 1 R, 1 O, and at least. So 3C2 for the O's, 2C1 for the R's, and 3C1 for this. 3C2 for the O's, 2C2 for the R's, and none for that. 3C3, 2C1, and 3C0 again. So let's see what we get. 3 into 3, 9, 9 into 2, 18. 9 into 1 is 9. 9 into 2 is again 18. And 3 into 1 is 3. And that's 2. So let's check if we are getting through to the right answer. 18 plus 9 plus 18 plus 3 plus 2. That gives me a total of 50. So let's see what our denominator was. 8C4 is what? 8C4 is 70. So my probability will be 50 over 70. Now this is a different concept that's being tested repeatedly. So make sure that you understand. You only take combinations of identical letters when you are asked to calculate probability. And the simple reason is that you've double counted in the denominator, so you double count in the numerator as well. Okay, let's do another. There are other questions in the past papers that are not here. You will find those in the past papers. Probability is now being tested repeatedly, so you make sure that you understand this concept clearly. Okay, I'm going to do one last question, and that's again different. So I'm going to try to do that. May June 22. The correct answer to this part was 65. There were 2 marking schemes, one that was published earlier with the release of the exam, but that marking scheme had an error, so it was replaced, and this new marking scheme had the answer 65. So you should know what you are doing. Find the 9 letters of the word in the word crocodile, which can be divided into 3 groups. Now I'm just asking you to divide into 3 groups. I'm not asking you to select and leave some out. So all of them will get selected eventually. 3 letters, each containing 3 letters. If the two C's must be in different groups. So crocodile. Now, the two C's must be in different groups. That part is very clear to me. Okay, but the part that is not clear to me is where will the O's lie? So there could be lots of cases. I'm going to say that one of the cases is that each of these gets an O with them. So 3 letters, and 3 letters. So, okay, I'm going to select them later on, write them later on. It could be a case where you get CO, one C remains empty, and the O comes up here. Okay, you could have another case where I have 2 C's and 2 O's here. Okay, then the last combination that you could have is both O's here, one C alone, and then no O's here there. Okay, now let's start making the combinations. The C's and O's are gone. 1 2 3 4 5. When I write 5C1 here, I'm selecting one more additional letter. Okay, then I'm going to write 4C1 here. Why? Because I need another one, but one letter is gone, and the remaining 3C3 go here. But what you should understand is that there is a lot of double counting here. So the combinations that I've counted here are COR, COD, COI, COL, COE. Now when I say 4 again, 5 into 4, 20, I'm doing a lot of double counting, and the reason is that I'm again counting. If I've just eliminated R, let's say, so I'm counting COD, COI, COL, COE again. So these groups will have a lot of repetitions in them. So what do you do? Since these groups are identical, you say that this case will become 5C1 into 4C1 into 3C3 divided by 2 factorial. The entire thing divided by 2 factorial. Okay, and that's important to understand. Why? Because those groups will be identical. Okay, then I do 5C1 here, I do 4C2 here, and I do 2C2 here. Now, none of these groups will be identical because one is with a CO, then with a C, and then with an O. So I'm going to say 5C1, 4C2, and 2C2 divided by nothing. Okay. Then again, these two groups have both a C at the start. So these two groups will have some identical things. Um, so what I'm going to say is 5C2. Again, repetitions are there. So I'm going to again divide this by 2 factorial. Then this group is already selected. So 5C2 here, and then 3C3 here. So 5C2 into 3C3. Okay, what's 5 into 4? 20. 20 into divide by 2 is 10. Okay, 5 into 6 is 30 here. 5 into 3. No, that's not 5 into 3. 5C2 into 3 divided by 2. So that gives me 15 here and 5C2. So 10 plus 30 plus 10 plus 15 gives me a total of 65. Okay, that brings us to the end of my worksheet that I have here for you. But there are more questions in the recent past papers. I will be doing a permutations and combinations marathon for the recent past papers. Make sure that you watch that as a follow-up to these questions, and I will see you in the next video. Make sure that you practice this because this is a challenging portion on the exam now. Thank you for watching.